It's a new year, and you know what that means, right? One of the most prominent shows of the year, award shows, is right on deck. And in a minute, we'll be speaking to the CEO who runs the entire operation. Hello, everyone. This is Jabari Young, senior writer and editor here at Forbes. And in just a second, I'll be joined by Harvey Mason Jr. He is the Recording Academy's CEO, Recording Academy, which runs the Grammy Awards. And we'll be talking about the 66th annual show, the business behind the Grammys, Trevor returning, Africa performances, best Africa performance on deck, a new category this year, and what he sees in Africa, breaking down his career, dealing with Michael Jackson, all of that and more with Harvey Mason Jr. right now. I open it up like this, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. That's one of your core sayings and something that you like. And I guess that's almost like you go all in on everything that you do. And here you are, CEO of the Recording Academy, which runs the Grammys. Congrats on all your success. And here you are going all in as a CEO. What is that like? What's on tap for the 2024 Grammys, the 66th annual Grammy, Mr. Harvey Mason Jr.? What's going on in 2024, sir?
Well, thank you. First of all, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And you're right. I do have either a good habit or a bad habit, depending on who you ask, of going all in. Drives my wife crazy. But yeah, I get interested in something and invested in something. And I just want to see it all the way through. I am passionate about improvement. I'm passionate about learning, doing, making a difference. I've been in the music industry for a long time. I made a lot of music, a ton of records, worked with some great artists. I was very fortunate to have a great career, had a lot of fun. And I'm at the stage in my life now where I'm going all in on trying to make a difference, trying to be of service to people, and really make an impact with my time here on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, 66 annual Grammys again coming up in February. And here we are as we close out the first month of 2024. Interesting already in January. But Trevor returning, new categories. Ice Spice is nominated, right? Ice Spice had a terrific run in 2023, and a lot of things on board for her in 2024. Talk about the transparency in the voting. But let's start here. What can viewers expect on February 4th? Because the Grammys brings in 20 plus million people annually all the time. What can these people expect on February 4th when they turn on CBS?
Well, it's going to be a big show. First of all, you're going to see a lot of different types of music, which is what I love about our show. It's not just exclusively one genre or one small group of people doing all the performances. So you're going to see a lot of different looks, a lot of different faces, ages, genders, races, and great music, great performances, different people coming together to perform. And my hope is that we can use the platform of the Academy and the Grammy specifically in February 4th as an event to bring people together and an occasion to unify. That's what music has done throughout history. That's what I'm hoping that we can continue to do and maybe amplify that effort, especially in these days where there's so much uncertainty and division in not just our country, but around the world. My hope is that music, the Academy in some small way, but greater than that, music can make a difference in the world.
Yeah, you might need to do a show at the end of the year too, because we're only at the start of 2024, Harvey. It's going to get crazier. We're in an election year. The things that happen around the world, we might have to just do a show to come together at the end of the year once we get through the election cycle. So you might need to make that happen, and we'll do it at your house too.
I'm not opposed to that. More shows, the music, the better.
Absolutely. What stands out about Trevor Noah? I mean, this is his fourth year, returning as a Grammys host. And, obviously the brother's talented. But when you're picking a host to run such an extraordinary event every year, what do you look for? And what is standing out about him that you keep calling him back?
Depends on how you're analyzing it. You're looking at it from a lot of different levels. You're looking at it from the viewer's perspective. Does he resonate or mean something to the viewers? And absolutely the answer is yes. From the music community standpoint, from the Academy standpoint, I look at him as somebody who loves music. This guy can recite lyrics, he can rap, he can sing, and he's so passionate about music that when I see him on our stage and when I see him hosting our event, he's having fun. He's in his happy place, and he's, first of all, again, so respected by not only the viewers, but by the music community and by the people who he's interacting with on the show, that it's a perfect fit. So he's very smart, he's intelligent, he's so well spoken, but more than all that, he's a music lover and somebody that the music community also respects.
Yeah. Want to get deeper into the business again in a minute, but let's recap right fast. In 2023, you were a little bit in the headline because you supported AI, artificial intelligence tracks that, obviously humans they make sure they are the majority of it in producing it, but you're in support of AI generated songs being nominated for Grammys. Can you elaborate on maybe the messaging? Would you change any of that? Because people were in uproar. What, an AI song? This is not fair. Do you change it, or do you stick with how you presented that this new tech will be, considered for something as, prominent as a Grammy Award?
I'll always look at everything I'm doing personally and the Academy's doing and try and make it better year to year. So that we're always going to look to improve and work to make things clearer. But that was a very, very nuanced subject, and trying to talk about AI in a way that is understandable and digestible by all people is difficult. But it's also, things get taken in small bits now. People want to grab headlines. They want to grab things that get attention. So a lot of the agita around the things that were said by the Academy or by me personally were just things that weren't really the facts. What we always have maintained was AI is going to be used in music. Fact, it already is, it always has been. As a songwriter, as a producer myself, I've used AI for the last 5-10 years. When you look at tune correction, frequency adjusting, these are all different things that are controlled by AI. So we're not going to refute the fact that AI is going to be used in music going forward. As an Academy, we are understanding our members. We have 24,000 members. Creative people are early adopters of technology. We always have been. So AI is going to be a part of how people make music. Music that is submitted is going to contain some AI components of it, and that is not going to make a song immediately disqualified. And this is what I've always said. A song can have AI involvement, but the human creativity and the human portion is going to be what we as an Academy award. I stand by what I said then, and I reiterate that now. We will continue to evolve those rules, though, because AI is changing. Our industry is changing. How people are using it is changing. How listeners are wanting to consume it is going to evolve. So the Academy, I promise you, and I guarantee you, will evolve along with technology and not be caught behind trying to catch up.
Yeah. Listen, it's all good stuff, right? As you said, I look at T-Pain's story, right? And when he first was trying to develop or get his sound with auto-tune and all the different software programs he had to go through to learn it. And I'm like, wait, that's kind of like AI, right? So you're right. It's always been there. Why do you think so people are so afraid of it now? Like, what's the big uproar? Generative AI is scary. When you can make a whole movie and don't have to use human beings or their voice, it is a little nerve-wracking. But at the same time, it's like, again, it's not going anywhere. So why are people so afraid of it? And looking at it from a music perspective, why do you think it's such a concern?
People are concerned because it is dang scary, and it is potentially going to displace a lot of people that traditionally thought music was made one way. Again, technology is always going to make things more convenient or more productive for people. But when it comes to music, you got to realize these are people that have invested years and years, thousands and thousands of hours perfecting their craft. The idea of sitting down at an instrument and playing a song or composing or collecting a series of chords to make a progression, to make a track, and then writing lyrics and singing over the top of. These are things that people have worked on their entire lives. And now to think we can release that to a computer to do it in a matter of seconds is a scary concept. There's a lot to be done to figure out how human creativity and human artistry is maintained. I personally believe there will never be anything that can replace what we do and what we make and what comes from our hearts and from our souls, and how that resonates with other human beings and what that means to humanity and culture and society. But we have to figure out some legislation or regulations around AI and how it's going to be used. How is it going to be used as an amplifier and an enhancement to human creativity, not something to replace? So a lot of fear around that. Are we going to be able to keep up from a government standpoint, federally, on the state legislative side, to make sure we're protected? Are we going to be able to have the approvals, the licensing, the crediting, the remuneration? All these types of things need to be sorted out before I think creatives like me or our members at the Academy will be really comfortable with it.
Yeah, so you could see one day an AI program, if it's trained and it creates and writes a song and it's no human, right? It's just an AI, that it could win an award one day if the rules are refined and it's a fair system. I mean, listen, over in Europe, and they're already writing AI laws. I can only imagine in the U.S. we will take some of that and copy and maybe put some of our own guidelines in place. But again, can you envision one day an AI-only software program winning a nomination at Grammys?
Hard for me to envision that right now, to tell you the truth, because who would be the recipient of the award? How would you evaluate it? So it's hard to imagine, but what I will say is I do envision a world in which AI-generated music is a part of award-winning songs.
Yeah.
Our organization is always going to focus on awarding human excellence and human creativity. So we'll see where it goes and how it evolves.
Yeah, maybe the person who created the software, maybe that person will win the award. But you're the first Black CEO running the Recording Academy, and that is a feat in itself. But what is that like? The first Black man, first Black person, and in this CEO position?
Well, I'm honored. I'm humbled to be here. As it relates to the racial component, it's not something that I initially considered. In order to become a CEO of an organization, there's obviously a few things that have to happen. You have to do a few things right. People have to think that your capabilities and abilities are such that you can lead the organization regardless of what color you are. But when you look at it as a Black leader and a Black CEO, there are certain things that I hold personal and consider very important, and that is to make sure I'm representing other Black leaders and other Black people in the music community and just in the world in a way that exemplifies excellence, and in a way that opens the door and provides opportunities for other people, from regardless of what their race are, but other underserved communities, because many times underrepresented groups have not had someone that they can look at and someone that they can see in a role that they would aspire to be in. So my hope is that I do the job, I do it well, and I do it in a way that makes people proud and makes people maybe inspired or motivated to do something they thought might not have been possible, they might not have seen, or they might not have been able to reach out and touch before. So I take it very seriously, and I take my role here very personally. But again, I want to make sure I'm doing the best job possible, regardless of race. Anything I do, anywhere I go, as you said, I'm going to jump all the way in. I'm going to give it all my effort and all my focus and all my attention. And I hope that reflects well on me as an individual, but more importantly on the Academy. And then ultimately, if people want to say he's a Black CEO, he's a Black leader, I hope that represents and reflects well in that as well.
Yeah. Let's flash back for a minute, right? Because people listening to this, they may not even still know, well, who the hell is Harvey Mason Jr., right? Looking at you, Grammy CEO, Recording Academy CEO, runs the Grammys, but flashback in your career, right? You grew up in LA, played basketball at Arizona and Lute Olson, the great Lute Olson, teammates with Steve Kerr and Sean Elliott. Now I'm going to stop there, because I covered the Spurs for 5 years, right? When I covered the NBA, and Sean is a very good friend of mine. And I know Steve because I covered that team, and I've covered them through when the Spurs were playing the Golden State Warriors. But I will ask you this. You're in your backyard, all right? Sean and Steve are both your teammates. It's a 3-on-3. And you got the ball. Both of them are open. You got to pass it to one of them for the last shot. Game on the line. Which one do you pick, Sean or Steve Kerr?
I'm going to look at Sean, and then I'm going to wave him off. And then I'm going to look at Steve, and I'm going to tell him to come set a pick for me. And I'm going to dribble to the left and pull up for the jump shot myself. That's
so Harvey Mason Jr. takes the last shot. I like that. Now, will you make it, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because those guys have experience, you know what I mean, doing it.
They do. I will tell you, I have missed the last second shot. When Sean was on my team at Stanford, it was not a good experience. It definitely impacted me as an athlete and probably as a human. So yeah. I've been in that situation. Sometimes it's not pretty.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, Harvey Mason Jr. takes a shot. I'm okay with that. Now, when I see Sean, I'm going to tell him the story. He's probably going to be mad that you ain't passing him a ball, though, because he's wide open, right? He's wide open. But listen, one of the things, your dad was a member of Foreplay. He was a drummer, and I love Foreplay. Bob James, I mean, that was one of my favorite jazz bands, and here you are making a song for Grover Washington Jr. Again, I grew up in Philly, so, you know, hearing Grover Washington Jr., hearing, you know, East Riverside Drive, hearing those tracks, you know, it was just amazing. I have Grover Washington Jr. live at the Bayou, and I listen to that CD all the time. I mean, classic stuff. And you wrote a song for him at age 8 or 10. I'm hearing various numbers. Is that 8 or 10 that you wrote that song and that he used?
We'll say 9. We'll say 9.
So 9 years old, right in the middle, right? 9 years old. When you learn that Grover Washington is going to be using one of your songs, are you on a cloud nine, or are you young enough where you don't know what it means?
I'm young, but I'm also immersed in music my whole life as a child. I was around artists and musicians because my parents were both musicians. So, you know, I grew up meeting Michael Jackson or Stevie Wonder, people like that, because my dad was playing with them. So I respected them. I loved them. I loved the music, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just met Grover Washington Jr. So when I heard that they were recording my song, I thought that was wonderful. I loved it. I sat at the piano almost every day writing songs when I was a kid. So to me, it felt like what was supposed to happen. I didn't know that that wasn't usual for a 9-year-old.
Yeah. What song was it, though? I couldn't find the song from Grover Washington.
It's called Love Makes It Better. And I have no idea how I knew that at that age, but that's what I called it. And it was on his record.
Nice. And now, you know, you take that moment where you write that song, and I'm sure that just gives you all type of creativity. And again, you play basketball in college, you were doing other things, but here you are, right? You're making music, you get with the group, the Underdogs, right? You and Devin Thomas. And, you know, you said, I remember listening to a podcast, your big break came when you were able to get a song written with Brandy, right? That's when you guys were really blown up. Take me back to that time. Like, when you got a song Brandy's using, like, what stage, what mindset are you in, and how does that trajectory go up from there?
My mindset was very simple. It was grind mode. I was hustling. I was writing songs every day. At this point, I was probably 20 something, and I was sleeping on a friend's couch in LA. I was, you know, staying in my dad's house in the guest bedroom when I could. I was following record executives home from their job at the office to find out where they lived so I could put cassette tapes in their mailbox. I was stalking people with my music, and to have Brandy hear one of my songs, and the producer that was producing her record heard one of my songs and wanted to record it. I said, great, love to work with you on it as long as I can co-produce, and they agreed. So that was really my first break. And it was, I would say it was a relief, but that was not the feeling. The feeling was, okay, great, this is the first step. Now what's going to be next? And let's push harder. Let's go farther. Let's write more songs. Let's get better. And my experience working with Brandy led to working on the rest of that album with her, and then going on to work with Destiny's Child on their first record. Then we went to Whitney Houston's record, and we just kind of went from record to record to record based off of that tipping point moment.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you know, when you first of all, meeting Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, I mean, you killed me with that one, right? I was able to be in the same room as Prince, right? But before he died, and that was definitely an experience. But you also worked with legends like Aretha Franklin and Whitney Houston. You mentioned Beyonce, 50 Cent. The list goes on and on and on. When you think about all those names I just mentioned, does someone stand out the most that you think about, that you use, what they've given you, the tools, the advice today still, out of all those names, all of those pioneers that you've worked with in music?
I don't think anyone stands out individually, but I do reflect back on my experience with each one of them. There's something that I picked up from many of the legends, you know, and they all have things that I notice are in common, and that's the professionalism, the work ethic, the focus, and the desire to push the boundary of greatness. And that's something that I absolutely have used in my life, whether that be in sports or in my relationships or my work at the Academy or my work as a songwriter and producer. These artists, they don't settle. They don't just come in and sing something and say, oh, great, it is what it is. They're like, okay, how can I sing it better? How can we produce it in another way, in an elevator? How can we reach more people? And they never said, they don't compromise. And so for me, I've learned through my different experiences, as you said, whether that was with Michael or Aretha, or even in today's artists with Justin and Beyonce and people like that, the excellence and the craft that you must deploy to reach excellence is something that's never ending and continuing to evolve and grow and learn and improve. is something that I find a lot of these iconic artists have.
Yeah. Teddy Riley explains his Michael Jackson moment, right? When he was working with Michael on the album, I forget which one it was. I believe maybe it was Dangerous, but
Dangerous, yeah.
and he was at his Michael's house and he's going just really telling in detail. So the visual was great about how Michael taught him about how to listen and have a better ear for music. And as you said, Michael wanted to be the best. He was telling Teddy Riley, if I stink, you let me know I stink so I could do it over. But Teddy took that experience and he went back to Virginia and he said he was just a better producer. He had a better ear because he was under Michael and he was learning, and Michael was not afraid to allow Teddy to explore. All of your mini sessions, do you think back at one like the Teddy Riley, his Michael Jackson moment? Do you think back at one session that you still can visualize, that you say, man, I learned so much from that? And if so, what session was that?
I don't. Again, it's impossible for me to pinpoint one session because to me, I like and I consider myself.
What about the one that stands out right now? Like the one that comes to mind right now?
The one that comes to mind is the one that you just brought up, because I did spend 18 months working with Michael, and I was in the studio working on his record. So I did learn a lot from him.
Like what? What was some of the things you learned?
Pushing for greatness, reaching for something that you might not have thought you could achieve. But these are also the same things that I learned from my basketball coach, playing for Lute Olson. These guys, you have a bar of excellence that you hold in your mind that's here. And there's a certain group of people that can push you and can make you reach beyond where you think you can go. Michael did that. My coach, Lute Olson, did that. Aretha Franklin did that. One of my teammates, Steve Kerr, did that for me. So these are the people that make you realize, oh, there's another level. There's another gear that you can shift into. And Michael absolutely did that. He thought, okay, you've done your best. Now erase all that and start over and do your best plus 10. And then maybe we'll do that 2 or 3 more times to get to the place where it's truly excellent. And it's truly something special. So that's something I definitely learned.
Yeah. Sum up your career as a producer, right? And I think A&Rs are just a lost thing nowadays. I don't think that you have great A&Rs. I hear it in the music, right? You hear it when you're listening to songs. I'm like, nobody took the time to listen, pay attention to detail, and listen to the tune, listen to somebody's voice to say, no, not good enough, do it over again. You were, again, working with all these writers, working on all these great talent, so you know what an AR stands for. And I'll get to you in a good to great question in a little bit, but looking back at your career as an A&R, as a producer, how would you sum up your career in one word on that side?
One word, varied. The variety of work that I was able to do and that I continue to do is something that made me excited and really drove me. It always was something that I was striving for, making sure I wasn't just doing one style of music over and over and every day. So variety or varied, the nature of my work is something that I would probably summarize in one word.
Yeah. Did you know that you wanted to, CEO positions are they don't really come by, don't come open like that. They're very hard positions to get. But did you know when this role came open that you wanted to be CEO? Was that people had to convince you?
God, no, definitely not. CEO was not a role that I was seeking out for the Academy. I was the CEO of my company. I had a publishing joint venture. I had a label. I had my production company, and I was running that, and I was happy, and we were thriving and growing and building. The CEO of the Academy thing came because I had volunteered to be the chair of the Recording Academy. And that is a position that oversees the board of trustees for the Recording Academy. I did that for 1 year, and then they asked me, would I consider being CEO? And I actually said no. I didn't want to be the CEO because I knew the amount of work and effort that took. And I was still in the studio making music. And that process went on for 2 or 3 asks. And ultimately, I saw how I could be useful. I saw how I could serve the organization. I really understood the power of the Academy and the work that it was doing beyond just the show or just the trophies, which is very, very important and critical to the success of our organization. But I saw all the work it was doing through Music Cares and the Health and Human Services and the philanthropy and the museum and the education, music preservation, and the advocacy work in DC that was making it a safe place and a profitable place for people to create music. These things excited me, and they made me realize I have a purpose to make sure I'm giving back. I have a purpose to serve people like me that are coming up into the music industry. So agreeing to be the CEO was with that in mind. How can I serve? How can I uplift? How can I continue to put the Academy in a position to make sure we're building a safe and healthy place for music people to do the work that we touched on this work that makes a difference around the world, this work that brings people together, the music that can heal, the music that can unite. This is why the Academy is important. This is why I decided to take the role.
Yeah, you said work as we move on. And when you took over that CEO role, the Grammy, the Academy was going through a little bit of a turmoil. I ask you directly, has the Grammys earned back public trust?
The Grammys are earning back the trust, and we're working and continuing to push to make sure that we are earning the trust. Some of the mistrust was misplaced, I will say, because there are things said that just unfortunately were not accurate. But we do have a lot of work to do, and we always have acknowledged that. There's things that we need to improve, there's things we need to work on, but make no mistake about it, we're a darn special organization when it comes to serving music people. The money that we make all pushes back into the music community. People that have lost their instruments, had mental health breakdowns, have medical conditions. These are all people that are benefiting from the Academy. Not to mention what a Grammy nomination or a win can mean to an artist, how that can set them up for a future career, and also, very importantly, how that can be motivation for another artist, the next generation, to see somebody like them on the stage receiving an award and inspire them to want to pursue a career in music, which leads again to the cycle of more music, more creativity, more consumption, more people listening to it, more common experiences, people coming together around their favorite artists. These are the things that music does, and that's why the Academy is so important. So yeah, we got work to do. We'll always continue to get better. We'll continue to evolve, but where we've come from over the last 4 years to where we are now is very different. And we look forward to continuing in that direction with that trajectory.
Yeah, and listen, you said a lot there. One of the things I like to do when I do interviews is that I go around and I talk to a lot of young people and I say, hey, I got the Grammy CEO coming. What would you ask him? And a lot of young people were talking about the relevancy of the Grammys, right? And you kind of mentioned how artists really look up and they really take and put this award, on a pedestal. Has that lost that traction though? Because obviously you see the Drakes, the Frank Oceans of the world. The criticism is there. They made it appear like the Grammys weren't as important as they once was, right? And there's a new generation that's among us now who don't look at the Grammys like maybe previous generations do. How do you make sure that that bridge is connected to the new generation so that way they will strive to want to win a Grammy, want to watch the Grammys, right? Because advertisers are on the line. You guys have audiences to bring in. CBS doesn't pay you off for nothing, right? They want audiences. How do you make sure you don't lose that young demographic? Because over the last few years, the Grammys have been struggling with viewership with the young people, and it appears the young people just don't trust the Grammys because they don't think the Grammys are even looking at the things that they listen to. And I'm referring to cultural hip hop and things of that nature. How do you make sure that that bridge is protected while you're gaining back public trust?
We strive to do that by making sure that what we do is touching all the right communities, whether that's with our membership, because everything that we do starts with membership. Our awards, the nominations, the outcomes of those nominations, that is derived by our voting mechanism, which is driven by our members. So we got to have the right members. We have to have relevant members. We have to have people in all the different genres a part of our organization. We have to have them involved in voting. In order to do that, we have to prove to them that we are worthy. We are an organization that they should be supporting, they should be a member of. And that goes, it goes a long ways with what we put on our show, how we program our performances, how we serve our members. But we have to get into the areas where we're lacking. We've done that in the past. The way we've changed our membership, we've reached out to different underserved communities, underserved genres, and asked them to come. We didn't used to do this. We used to sit back as an academy and say, well, if you want to join, we'll think about letting you in. Now we're actively going into spaces where we are lacking, and we're saying, we need you. We need your expertise. We don't know every genre of music. We don't know what's hot in every style, sound, what's coming out of different platforms, or what's coming out of the studio. So come join us, come help us determine what are the best records in your genre, what are not the best records in your genre, and how do we service and honor the people from your community. And those are the things that we are actively seeking from other people, whereas in the past, maybe we didn't do that. So yeah. I touched on it earlier, the membership's been changed. The organization from the internal side, the staff and the board and the elected leadership has all evolved. And we are a very different organization than we were 4 or 5 years ago. So my hope is that we are starting to build that relevance back. We're spending a lot of time talking to artists, making sure they know not only are we trying to be the most relevant organization through our TV show, but we're also trying to make sure we're serving music people. And that's the big difference. When people start to understand that we're not just about giving away trophies, when anybody gets mad about, oh, I should have got that nomination, I should have won, when they understand that the money from the show goes right back into the music community, maybe the people on their teams or in their crew of people that had fallen on hard times was getting money from the Academy, they start to realize, okay, wait a minute, maybe it's not just about my nomination, maybe it's not just about my win. And I've had that experience so many times when I talk to an artist and I tell them, last year we gave $30 million to music people who needed help. You don't have to be a member to receive that. You just have to be a music person, someone in our industry. And when artists understand that they see, oh, there's a bigger picture here, there's another play that's happening, and I want to make sure that I'm supportive. So that story and that education, that understanding in the music community is something that we need to do a better job of so that they can feel more connected to our organization.
I know you guys did the hip hop show. Salute to Hip Hop 50 years that they've celebrated last year. Great show. And a few more things to let you get out of here because you're a CEO, Harvey. You're busy. You got a show that you got to prepare for. But are you guys going to take hip hop more seriously, take the culture more seriously from here on out? Because it's not going anywhere. I'm walking down the mall. I'm seeing kids, white and black, and they're singing 50 Cent song, right? Go Shorty. And I'm like, man, it's here, right? When we watch the Grammys, is that going to be reflected on that show?
The Grammys have really have taken hip hop seriously over the last few years, and it's always been a very important genre to us. But over the last couple of years, you saw in our last show, we did the longest segment we've ever done of almost 13 minutes to tribute hip hop, and then we did do a full 2-hour hip hop show. But it's only because it's the right thing to do. Hip hop is the dominant genre right now. You see,
yes.
Black music in general is the most consumed and most created genre. So it's not that we don't want to pay attention or we haven't paid attention. It's now evolved to the point where it's a focus for us. You'll always see us pay our respects. But again, we've got work to do in that community and in other communities to make sure that we are representing them, equitably and fairly and accurately. We have to have the right people as a part of our organization to do that, though. So I reach out into the hip hop community and say, I need you. We need you to be a part of the Academy. That's why we started the Black Music Collective. The Black Music Collective was formed so that we could get input and insight from the Black music community to help guide us. What are the things that we need to pay attention to? What are the genres that we might be overlooking or missing, and how can we do it better? So those things have been put in place. Hip hop's obviously extremely, extremely important to not just the music community, but to the Academy. And we'll continue to try and accurately represent and celebrate that really, really, really important genre.
Absolutely. Two more things, one of which Best African Music Performance. That's a new category this year. I ask you, when you look at Africa's music scene, what do you see?
I see crazy amounts of talent. I see new innovative sounds. I see influence that's coming not just to our country but to the rest of the world with what they're doing. You're seeing some of the biggest artists in the world start to collaborate and feature on Afro beats and Amapiano records and other genres coming from the continent. So a lot of talent. That's a very young continent, very creative continent, and you're seeing that in the music they're putting out. Right
fast, going into the business, the Los Angeles Times reported in 2020, CBS, that deal goes into 2026, right? It's more the licensing fee that they pay, more than $20 million. What's the status of the relationship there? It looks like it's a well-protected relationship with CBS, and you guys will be together again for another few years. But long-term, are you guys in negotiations about what that's going to look like? Because 2026 will be here before you know it, Harvey. We're in 2024 already, right? We were just in a pandemic yesterday, and now 2026 will be here before you know. What's that business looking like?
We've had a great relationship with CBS, a great partnership for many, many years. We'll look to continue that as long as they'll have us, and we'll see where that goes. But the future of media and content is quickly evolving. People aren't generally sitting around watching TV the way they used to. And we could see potentially in the future something that would be a multiplicity of ways somebody could watch the show, whether that be on streaming or in digital or traditional linear television. So all that will need to be worked out, and we'll have to continue to look at our show and how does it evolve to meet consumers where they're consuming content and how they like to consume content. And if that's in conjunction with CBS, we'll see. But I do have to say our partnership has been long and strong, and we hope it continues.
Absolutely, 50 plus years, right? That's how long that program has been on there. That's a very long time. Get you out of here, Good to Great, right? Jim Collins, his book, Good to Great. And I ask you, what's the difference between a good music producer / A&R and a great one?
Well, I'll touch more on the producer side because that's really where I come from. But a good producer is probably a nice musician. They probably can write songs. They probably know the technical side of producing. A great producer has the interpersonal skills, knows how to motivate, and knows how to interact with an artist, because really at the end of the day, that's what a producer is supposed to do, and an A&R for that matter, is to get the best performance from an artist or a singer. So how do you do that? What are the conversation moments that you have to go into? What are the techniques that you have to deploy or employ to get somebody to feel comfortable or feel confident or feel upset or feel angry to perform in a way that really, really is meaningful and the listener can feel that? So a great producer knows how to get that out of an artist. A great producer, of course, is going to be a great musician, a great songwriter, but listening, communicating, interacting with talent and other people that it takes to make a record is, to me, what makes a great producer, along with taste. You have to be able to discern what's going to work, what's happening in the current environment, what are consumers listening to, what does this artist need to be doing, what are the abilities of this artist, and what do they have the agency to do in their career for their next record. Taking all that into consideration and being able to collaborate with them and listen and push them to do their best is what makes a great producer in my mind.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, I hope you become you already are a great CEO, right? Of the Recording Academy. Harvey Mason Jr., thank you so much for the time. A great show on the horizon. And I hope one of these days I get to be in the crowd, right? I get just to enjoy it, all this greatness right on stage here. But definitely will tune in to Grammys February 4th. Appreciate all the time, sir. We hope to have you back again to talk more Grammys in the years to come.
Anytime, I'd love to. And I love what you're doing. So thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man.